What creature did 3 separate teenagers see in the 1970s? Could it have been a normal animal veiled by the shadows, or something more unusual? Today, we test the believability of the Dover Demon.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
That is right. It is Tuesday yet again, and Christmas is almost here. It is right here, right there.
Santa's pulling up with his reindeer. Do you think Santa Claus is like a little elf or a man?
I think every depiction I've ever seen of him is a man.
I've seen both.
You've seen an elf Santa?
Yeah, elf Santa. It's
No, those are
creepy.
the workers. They wish they were Santa.
No, like little Santa, like 4 foot tall Santa.
No, I think it's... well, it's not real, but if it was, it's definitely a dude.
Okay, like Tim Allen.
Just like Tim Allen. A little bit less cocaine. All right, Dover Demon. So this is great. This is one of the few topics I've chosen that you have not heard about before.
Maybe in passing, but I don't know.
No.
Okay.
No, this is the
Nothing.
first time.
I don't know anything about it. All right. I don't.
Do you know where Dover's at?
The only thing I can think of is the Cliffs of Dover, which is in England, I think.
No, there is a Dover, Ohio, but no, this is in Massachusetts. So like the Dover Demon.
Oh, no. Okay, so this is a Marky Mark demon.
Yeah, the Tom, it's not the Tom Brady anymore. Tommy went down to Tampa.
Yeah.
No, the Dover Demon. Normally this is like, so this is how it normally breaks down. I normally describe the entity first, and then I go into the sightings. I'm going to kind of describe the Dover Demon first, but I kind of want the visual to come out in the sightings.
Oh, that's great.
So I'll give you a breakdown of kind of what it is, but then we'll get into the sightings, and then we'll get into some possible explanations of what it is, and that's the way it's going to go. You cool with that?
That sounds great. I'm excited.
So, Dover Demon is a small humanoid creature reported. I'm already in the mood. This is great. Oh, I'm so ready. So, it's reported to be found in Dover, Massachusetts.
I don't know why. I thought you were going to say Connecticut.
You know, Dover sounds like a Connecticut city. Connecticut's kind of very underrated. Or, well, maybe not underrated. Yeah, forgotten.
Yeah.
Often forgotten.
Is that a state?
Yes.
Okay.
It's where LeBron destroyed us in 2010. It's up there in the Northeast. It's just like one of those little, like when you're on a map, there's just all those lines that are like, well, I'm going here. I'm Rhode Island. I'm going here. I'm New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who's New Hampshire? Like, and it's just a mess. But, you know, we lean East Coast, obviously. So
Yeah.
Go Connecticut. But we're talking about Massachusetts. Dover Demon is described as looking sort of like a gray alien, except that the skin is more of like a orangey color rather than the gray that you typically see. Often, it's bipedal. Often.
Okay.
Yeah, but it can also travel on all fours. And its eyes have been described as being multiple colors between orange and green.
Oh, man.
Doesn't wear clothing.
Oh, well, if you have the option.
Yeah, exactly. It's a streaker. So I'll leave the description for the time being there. And I know, a little disappointed, not quite hitting the quantity over quality. So I feel like I'm letting you down a little bit, but they're short enough that it still feels like to me like we're doing the quantity over quality.
Okay.
I got 4 sightings. Really, it's 3, but I'm going to pump it up and say it's kind of like 4.
Okay.
It'll make sense.
Yeah, because last week we had a bunch.
Exactly. The quantity was so much better than the quality. So much better.
I didn't do that on purpose.
No, just kidding. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's dive into sighting number 1. We're going all the way back to April 21st, 1977. So were you like 10, 15? How old were you back then?
I was about 45.
Oh, gosh. So, around 10:30 at night, there were 3 17-year-olds, Bill Bartlett, Mike Mazoka, I'm trying, and Andy Brody. I actually really like that name.
Andy Brody? That's a good name.
Andy Brody.
It's a strong name.
And, you know, even if you elongate it to Anderson Brody, it's still good.
Yeah. That guy is a lawyer or a salesman.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, how old would he be now? So that's like...
77?
No, like 57, 60, something like that. Like
No, it was in 77.
Yeah, it was in 77. You're saying he'd be so... Like, God,
No.
I know your math's not great, but I wasn't going to put you on the spot. Anyway, They were driving north on Farm Street, which we'll get back to. So Billy Bartlett, or William Bartlett, not as good as Anderson Brody, but Billy Bartlett was the one driving. It was an old Volkswagen, and he is the very first technically he's not. He, for the intents and purposes of this story and this creature, he's the first sighting. And as he's driving, his friends, Mike and Andy, were having a conversation, but Bill noticed something on the side of the road. As he was driving, he saw something creeping along a low stone wall on the side of the road. And initially, he just thought it was a cat or a dog, something like that, a small animal, until his Volkswagen's headlights finally hit the creature. The creature slowly turned its head and it stared directly at the vehicle. And Bill was met with two large eyes glowing bright without any eyelids. The head was huge, shaped like a watermelon, and it was on top of this little tiny baby-sized body with long spindly arms and legs. The creature, he reported, was clinging to the stones like a toddler trying to stand and get its balance, and its fingers and toes were wrapped around the stones. He said the creature, from what he could discern, had no mouth, no nose, and no ears that were visible. He estimated that it was about 4 feet tall and was completely hairless, and as I said in the intro, it was an odd peachish color. So shortly after, he completely freaked out, obviously. This is like a 6-second time span. Like, he's not driving fast. It catches his light, I would say 5 to 6 seconds. And he stops and is just completely freaked out. And he looks at his friends. He's like, guys, did you see that? Unfortunately, they did not see it. So his friends convinced him to turn around, which they did. But they were all too creeped out to search the area.
Oh my god, it's really creepy. That is a scary description.
Yeah, and when I was reading it initially, I was like, damn, you didn't even get out of the car and look around. But thinking about it, in that mindset, in that state of mind, I don't know if I would either. I'd like to think I would, but I don't. I've had an experience driving, and I did not get out of the car. So I can't knock him for it.
I wouldn't get out. You couldn't pay me.
I couldn't pay you? Open that pocketbook. So when he got home, he was obviously visibly upset, and his father asked him what was wrong. So he told his dad what he witnessed, and apparently his dad said to keep it to himself.
Wow.
Repression. Wow. Bottle that shit up, son. But he did sketch what he witnessed, and apparently he swears on a stack of Bibles that it's absolutely true.
Stack of Bibles?
Not just one Bible. And I don't think 2 Bibles is a stack. I think you got to hit that 3 or more before it's a stack.
Does it stack the power like in D&D? You're like, I stacked this Bible, and like you get like
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Multiplier like times 4, then times 8, then times 16 because you stacked them all.
His dad's like, but if I roll a 7. But he claimed, I think he actually wrote it on the sketch, which I'll get to this later because there's multiple sketches, but I do believe we'll be posting it on these social media platforms. But he did claim to absolutely believe what he saw. And that is sighting number 1.
Wow. That's, that was, William?
Bill, Willie, Billy.
Double B, double M.
Yeah.
And Brody.
Sighting number 2. Same night. So this is still April 21st, 1977. About an hour and a half later, 15-year-old John Baxter was leaving his girlfriend's house, Kathy. I'm not going to say her last name. I don't know why. I'm saying everybody else's last name. I'll keep Kathy's. She's fine. And she lives at the end. I'll tell you where she lives, though. This is the 70s. She doesn't live there anymore. Anyway, I won't even say where she lives. I'll tell you this. Where he's leaving is about a mile from Farm Street.
Okay. Oh, that's familiar.
So this is a mile away from sighting 1, and it's about an hour and a half later. And I would assume he's a respectable, young fellow. So instead of illegally driving, because he's 15, he decided to walk home. This gotta suck, though. I mean, this is Massachusetts. It's April. It's midnight. I mean, that sounds cold to me, right?
Yeah, it does.
It sounds cold.
At least a windbreaker.
You're 15, and you're walking home from your girlfriend's house at midnight. Seems a little...
I didn't have a girlfriend at 15.
No?
I don't know.
I didn't live in Dover at 15, so I totally know what you're talking about. 70s were a wild time, man. We're more rural. Like, it would take me like an hour to walk home from a girlfriend's house in where I came from in Ohio. Get home at 1 a.m. So John's on his walk home, and he notices something approaching him. Because this figure is short, John assumed that it was his friend, M.G. Bouchard, who lives on that street. And I don't know if that's a privacy thing. I don't know if his friend owns a fashion line. But with the name M.G. Bouchard, there's a lot of great names in this story, I have to say. Andy Brody and M.G. Bouchard.
What is that?
Those are great names. So he calls out, "Yo, MG," but there's no response. So John and this mysterious figure continue getting closer and closer until finally the figure stops. So then John halts, and it starts dawning on him that this isn't who he thought it was. And a tinge of anxiety takes over. And so John asks, "Who is that?" And the night was dark. It was a dark, cloudy night with very minimal moonlighting. So John was not able to make anything out besides just an indiscernible shadow that was ahead of him. So trying to get a better look, John takes one more step forward. And then the figure scurries off to the left, runs down a shallow wooded gully, and up the opposite bank to a group of trees. So curiosity gets the best of John, unlike Bill, too afraid to get out of his car. So John decides to follow the figure down the slope.
Are you kidding me?
I did. John's got balls. And he stops and he looks across the gully. And there, the image of who, or rather what, he's been seeing becomes incredibly clear. He sees the creature standing in silhouette about 30 feet away, and its long feet are molded around the top of a rock several feet from a tree, and his fingers are just curving around the branch. The creature's body reminded John of a monkey, except for its huge, oval-shaped head. Its eyes shine a bright orange and were looking directly at John, who after a few minutes began to feel, naturally, very uneasy. He now realizes that this was wrong. He's never seen this creature before, and he never wanted to see it again.
He's like, so it's not MG?
you ain't MG? No, he says, "Fuck this." He backs slowly up the slope, heart pounding, and then he speed walks. Pretty much. He speed walks down the road to the intersection at Farm Street, and there a couple passing by pick him up and drive him home. So he did end up getting a ride home. Yeah.
So he's just like a mom after a soccer game, just like...
Yep, you always have to have one foot on the ground at all times.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you always do unless you're flying. But he also sketches the Dover Demon standing by the tree. It's one of the, I guess technically it's the second most popular image. Where Bill kept it to himself, John felt comfortable bringing this to the attention of people. Like, he even has a picture of himself, holding. He looks like he's from that 70s show. He looks like Kelso, in my opinion. But interestingly enough, it looks similar to what Bill described earlier that same exact day. And I'm going to say this now. I think, like I hinted before, we're going to go back to the listener viewing materials. I'm going to timestamp this. So if you want, I know this isn't a great platform to hear about images. You want to see them. You got eyes. Unless you don't, then you have my sympathy. But go ahead to our Believing the Bizarre Instagram, Believing the Bizarre Facebook. We'll timestamp it so you can look at these pictures and their drawings that we're talking about. Because they drew them. I'm sure they would love for you to see them.
Sure. Yeah, I would, I guess.
So after careful consideration,
and research and study.
Yes, we came to the conclusion he looks a little bit more like Hyde.
Yes.
Or the guy that replaced Eric Foreman.
Yeah, that guy.
Sighting 3. So this takes place the next day.
So the 22nd.
The 22nd. Still 1977.
Question. So it was a midnight on the
10:30 and then midnight.
Okay, so like so
like after
midnight
10
technically switches the day to the next day.
Yeah, if you think about it in terms of sleeps,
okay,
like he didn't go to bed yet, so it was still the same night for him. But if you want to be specific and scientific about it, you.
Okay, good.
Sighting 3. So 18-year-old William Tantor was driving with his main squeeze, Abby Brabham. Which
we get her last name?
Yeah,
she's 18.
She's not. She's 15.
Oh God,
but she's old now, or older, on Springdale Avenue, which is 2.5 miles from Farm Street for reference. So this is all happening within a few miles of himself. Here's the real scary thing to the story, though. And I'm interested to get your opinion on this as a 30-year-old man. She's 15 and he's 18. It's like when you're 15 and 16, it's not a big deal. And I think like the maturity level between 18 and 15 isn't that different. But I feel like once you hit that 18 threshold, as an older person now, I don't know.
Oh, that's bad because they're teenagers. Like,
but they're still like
if he was 20, if she was like 20 and he was 23,
that's nothing. That's
nothing,
fine.
Yeah,
but 15.
Oh, she can't drive, bro.
Exactly. Anyway, Abby noticed something odd on top of a culvert over Trout Brook. And if you're curious, culvert, it's that tunnel thing that channels water underneath the road. Like when you're driving over a road and there's water, there's like that tunnel that lets the water go through. Because it's not a bridge, it's just a road, like a sewer type thing. That's a culvert. Well, if you leave with nothing else.
So you learn something every day.
Every day. That's what we do here. We bring facts and knowledge and quantity over quality. So what she saw was a creature on all fours facing their oncoming car.
In the culvert?
On top.
On top of the... Okay.
Yeah. So as they approached, the creature lifted itself on its back legs. But instead of having glowing orange eyes like the previous two sightings, she claimed that it had glowing green eyes.
Big contacts? Like what the...
Yeah, put nice contacts in. Like, do they look cool? Oh man, everybody keeps driving away. So terrified at the sight, Abby cried for Will to get them out of there, which they were already driving. I don't know, what was he going to do? Stop?
Wait, was this at night?
There's no time. I would assume it's in the evening.
Oh, what if it's during the day, right? And the eyes change based on the time, like the sun versus no sun.
It could be. I think it was nighttime though, but I like your theory.
Okay.
I like your theory.
Okay.
I think it only comes out at night because daytime's not as spooky. If you can make daytime spooky, that's a win. As a director, as a person telling a story, it's a win.
If I saw this thing during the day, broad daylight, that'd be pretty creepy.
Yes. What didn't do that right? Resident Evil 5. Still a great game though. So Abby said they should go to the police. And Will was like, okay, cool, but like, can we not tell them we're dating? Okay, or can we pretend I'm 17? That didn't happen. But due to lack of immediate action taken by Bill or John, even though John was more forthcoming eventually, neither one of them did take action immediately. I think it's fair to say that Abby obviously hadn't heard any reports, descriptions, or details about this creature prior to her experience. And it's clear that she describes the creature in a very similar way as the other two, the only difference being the green eyes rather than the orange. So we'll obviously get into discussion on what it could be and if we think it's real or not. But I think, especially in the 70s, it's fair to say that I don't think these witnesses were influenced by each other,
right?
Unless there was something more behind it, which we will discuss. But I think if you take it at face value, I don't think there was anybody influencing anybody else.
Okay.
Also, interestingly enough, and I don't have an image of this. If it exists out there, I can't find it. They all sketched it because she sketched it too. What is happening in the 70s? Is that like, I know that there wasn't as much, there's no technology, there's no TikTok.
No one had cameras.
So you just go home I don't take pictures of things now I see that are odd, but I still don't go home and sketch it. Like, oh my God, I have to go home and first can we stop by Walmart so I can get a sketchbook?
Okay, but you've never seen this before though, you know?
I've seen creepy stuff before and I've never felt the urge to go home and draw it.
Ow.
And okay, I'm not saying it's weird for one person to do it. It's weird for every person in the main sightings to do it in 2 days. Unless they were all in the same art class, which, you know what? Maybe that will tie into something I'll talk about later.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So here's sighting 4, and I put this in parentheses.
Like asterisks?
Kind of. Because this kind of goes against what I just said.
Okay.
So eventually word did get out about the Dover Demon, and the town started getting publicity. Naturally, because if they didn't, we wouldn't be talking about it, and you wouldn't know about it unless you listened to other podcasts that talk about it, like Lore. So naturally, someone came forward and had claimed that they witnessed the Dover Demon years before. So Mark Sennett claimed that he saw the creature in 1972, which would be 5 years before Billy saw it on his drive with his friends. So Mark claims that he and his friends saw the Dover Demon one night while they were riding along Springdale Avenue near Channing's Pond, which is just south of Farm Street in Dover. So I'm trying to use like Farm Street as like a home base.
It's like a center point.
They weren't very descriptive. I think because it was already out there. Like you just say, yeah, that's what I saw. I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
They claimed to see a tiny creature with the headlights of their car, but it was deep in the woods and it was moving along the edge of the pond. Again, not very descriptive. They felt it matched the MO of the Dover Demon enough to come out. It's another person who's claiming they saw it, but it's still kind of like, oh yeah, now that I'm hearing about it, I did see something.
Yeah.
Before y'all.
Like I saw the ghost. 2.
Yeah.
But first 2.
Yeah. When you guys, can you say I saw it first? So for that reason alone, I made it the 4th one. Because you know how I feel about being chronological, but I'm like, no, you're not getting to go first, Mark. Now with the story, yeah, I was driving, I saw something in the woods.
Yeah, it's a weak story.
Can you put my name in there? So here's one last thing, and this doesn't involve Mark, this is the first 3. All of the sightings apparently lay in a straight line. Like boom, boom, boom. Like when like something was walking on a path. So chronologically, you could argue that it was walking in a certain way, which matches the timeline of when Bill saw it, and then John, and then Abby and her boyfriend, who's old, and I don't remember. And apparently they were all near water. So I want to move on to this. Billy William. He came out with an interview in 2006.
Really?
And he is standing by what he saw. Obviously, I mean, a stack of Bibles, right? Like, you can't go back on that.
16 multiplier right there.
Yeah. That's a lot of years of a lot of Bibles. Apparently now he's an artist living in Needham, Massachusetts, which is about 4 miles.
His was the better drawing.
It was. So he deserves to be a artist. I don't know if he's doing well, but he only lives 4 miles northeast of Dover, so it's not like he really got that far from home. But it wasn't a great article, in my opinion, and I don't mean that to attack the writer. It felt very disjointed. It wasn't like a question, answer. It was like I'm pulling quotes for something that was pulling quotes. It's not like a full piece. Okay. But I have quotes, and I'll read them and take it at face value. So Bill said, and I quote, "This definitely wasn't a fox or an animal. It was some creature with long, thin fingers and was more human in form than animal. I always try to guess what it was, but I never had any idea. And I wasn't trying to be funny. People who know me know I didn't make this up. I have no idea what it was, but I definitely know I saw something. It was some kind of creature."
The reporter's kind of shitty, so goes, "What does the fox say?"
"Does the fox say moo?" And he says, "In a lot of ways, it's kind of embarrassing to me. I definitely saw something. It was definitely weird. I didn't make it up. Sometimes I wish I had." Unquote. And his wife even said it's like weird how it's like, and I think it would be weird. It's like you're married to somebody and you know them as a person, but the rest of the world knows him tied to this story, where it's like you open a book and you find this creature in it, and it's like, oh, there's my husband listed in this book as this sighting of this creature. You know what I mean? It's a weird dynamic, I think, between him and this story and anybody who knows him.
Yeah, you almost have to separate that kind of thing.
Right. Hopefully she does.
Hopefully, yeah.
Oh, you still haven't got a real job yet. Still sketching cryptids, huh? Well, that's nice.
It's just like, there were demons in my head.
Did you sell any of them? No? No? Okay, that's fine. I guess the kids don't need to eat today. Tomorrow.
He's not doing good.
All right, so those are the sightings. Let's break into the potential explanations. So I got 4 potential explanations.
Oh, okay.
1, it's a hoax.
It's a hoax. They made it up.
It's just a bunch of kids. They were trying to stir up some news, some controversy, and they all got on the same page. Probably an art class. That's where the ties in there. So while they're doing their drawings, they're like, what if we create a creature? And they decide to craft their separate stories. But here's the thing. I don't know how well they knew each other. I would check and see if John and Abby were in Bill's, top 8 on MySpace. I think this came out a few years before that. If you think about it, there's no internet then. You know what I mean? Like now things travel so quickly. So I think it actually helps believing that this is a true thing, that I don't think, because information can travel, even if somebody went to the police that night, I don't think it would get to the other 2 in time for them to use it. Like, that's why I don't like Mark's 4th sighting, which is the first sighting. It feels like he heard about it and wanted to jump in on that. You know what I mean? Kind of like that's, the second Flatwoods Monster one, where the guy was like, oh yeah, I did see it when I was driving. It's kind of like, okay, it's a good story, but it's odd that now you're coming out about this. So if you believe it's a hoax, like, it's kind of like you can trick yourself into believing either one. If you believe that they got together and they decided to stir all this stuff up, I mean, it's believable. That's more believable to me than the 2 of them getting influenced by the other. I think they're all real, or it's all made up. Does that make sense? Either they're all in on it, or they all did have real experiences. I don't think it's 1 real story and 2 fake. Does that make sense? It's kind of like an all or nothing to me.
I agree with that. That makes sense.
So that's going to be when we get to the discussion and we really break this down. That's going to be really the only downfall for me, is whether or not I'm willing to buy that it was not a premeditated conspiracy on the part of the three teens.
Can I ask a question really quick?
Yes.
How old was Bill again?
17.
He was 17.
17, 18, 15, and 13. And then other ages I don't remember.
Well, okay, so John was 15.
Yes.
Yeah, and also Abby was 15.
Yes.
Okay.
And I assume they all went to the same school. I still think they all took the same art class.
Okay, I was just thinking. I was
Are you just saving up for the discussion on that?
Yeah. I just had a thought. It's kind of gone now, but
Okay, we'll get back to it. Explanation number 2. They're gray aliens. Not gray, but they're grays. So rather than being a cryptid, it potentially could have just been a lost gray alien. Well, I mean, who am I to say it was lost, but it was a gray alien. It has a large head. You know more about their bodies than I do. They're not the tall ones. Those are the thin whites, right? So the little bodies, the long arms, the huge heads. Now, the only problem is the body was orangish. That could be a different race of alien. Maybe they're babies or
I
orange.
think I have an answer for that, but that's okay.
And this isn't like a make it or break it thing, but there was no reported odd lights or phenomena in the sky those days. Like, there's nothing attached to it. Like, oh, one town nearby saw lights there. There's nothing like that tied to it. So, possible explanation number 3. I'll be interested if you've heard of this, because I didn't hear about this until I did research. And I might be saying this wrong, and if I am, I apologize. The Managishi?
No, I have no idea what that
No,
is.
it's a cryptid.
Sounds like an Italian cryptid.
The Alfredo. The Managishi is a cryptid and myth of the Cree natives of Canada. It's a native tribe, which is Canada and Massachusetts are kind of,
It's close, yeah.
Yeah, sure, So they believe that there were 2 humanoid races, one being the familiar human species and the other being these little people, the Managishi. They were believed to live between the rocks and rapids, and apparently they were like little tricksters. Like, one of their greatest joys was to crawl out of the rocks and like capsize canoes and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But they're like little human entities that have long arms, long legs, and big heads. Apparently 12 fingers, 6 on each hand. But the big striking thing, large, bulbous, hairless heads with large eyes and no nose. So large head compared to a little body. And remember, all the sightings were reported near water, and these things love water, the Managishi. Number 4. It was just an animal, right? Skeptics say that the Dover demon was just, it was a lost baby moose.
What?
Yeah, it was a little baby moose that was, it went, the Managishi are from Canada, moose are from Canada.
I wasn't expecting moose.
And it's, it's a moose.
Maybe a fox or something.
I will say this, a moose, their eyes do reflect in the light, then it makes them often glow yellow or green. Moose are not very common in Dover.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
Also could have been a baby calf, like an orange furred calf.
Okay.
I've actually seen pictures of these, and it does, okay, I just showed Charlie a picture that I found during my research of a baby moose. Now, when you say moose, and you think of like a big, elk-like, buff, brown thing, no, that's silly. But after looking at that baby moose picture, what do you think?
It makes a little more sense, though.
In 6 seconds of driving, maybe?
Yeah.
Now, the only thing is a moose probably wouldn't react the way that John explored. They're walking close to each other. And then it runs away, and then it stands on its hind feet, and it wraps its hands around a tree. Moose probably ain't doing that.
I don't think so.
But maybe John's a big fat liar. Maybe? All right, well, that's the sightings. Those are the possible theories, and now it is time for the discussion. Okay, where is your mind at with the Dover Demon?
So I really like the Managishi.
The Managishi?
Man, that's interesting.
Managish.
I think that's, I don't know, that's interesting that, so you said they're from Canada.
Yeah.
What part of Canada?
Oh, I don't know.
Just
wherever the Cree natives are.
Okay. Because, Massachusetts and Canada are not super far.
No. Both north.
Yes, it's both north. That's really interesting to me, though.
They match the description very well, and then the water thing comes into play about them being near water.
They didn't give it color, though, right?
Not that I saw.
The only thing that's strange about this that makes me curious about being gray.
Let's go to the aliens, because you're you're the alien guy. So because you even said kind of sounds like a gray.
It does. It sounds a lot like a gray.
But an orange gray.
Yeah. So okay, I have 2 theories.
Okay.
That could make it a gray. One, so a gray is a biological machine.
Really? They're not organic? They're not flesh?
They are flesh, but they're biological machines. So they're biological made, but they're still controlled.
Like made in China? Like, I don't know. What, like, are they birthed?
Yeah, but
by a machine. I don't know what you're saying is what I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like they're flesh robots.
They're robots?
A machine.
So somebody's inside controlling them?
Someone's controlling them, not from inside of them, but like...
They're like droids.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So my thinking is that maybe either they got stuck here a long time ago and they evolved into this...
They corroded. It's just a very corroded gray alien.
Well, maybe they evolved into their environment.
Can a robot evolve, though, like that?
If they're biological, maybe. But also, my other thinking is that one got stuck because it was broken. And it shifted color because it was in distress. And the arms.
It got like the red ring of death. Like the Xbox.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like maybe
ring.
the orange color could be shifting into like a failure state.
Yeah. Maybe it's just like, it's bad, like bad produce. Like it's not ripe anymore. Bad. They should just throw it away.
But maybe the arms doing that is like a way to like try to fix itself, but it doesn't know how because there's nothing.
I mean, it would also fit that it was like it had problems walking, like a toddler.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just kind of losing it. Maybe it's an old sick gray.
So those are my interesting.
Well, okay, what about it just being by itself? Like it's a
gray?
cryptid. No. Like it's a cryptid. Just it's its own thing.
It's its own thing. I really like the Managishi thing. I think that fits in it because there's stories about it already. And then, like, so it's giving it's given credibility by the Cree people.
Cree people.
I almost said Cretans.
I don't think it's a moose, and I don't think it's a calf.
I don't think it's an animal.
It's very, to me, it's believable that it was seen by 3 people within probably like a 36-hour time span, 48-hour time span, straight line, 2 days. But it's like, where did it go?
How far up the street did it go?
The whole thing was probably
like 2
within
miles?
probably between 2 and 4 miles.
Yeah, that'd take me a couple days.
he's got long legs, little body.
And he's in trouble, right? So maybe he put out the distress signal, right? It's a gray, it's distress signal. Eventually gets found by the crew that lost it, picked it up, and took it.
Maybe. It said that it was lost, or they felt like it was lost, but I don't know if I lean alien as much as cryptid. But here's the thing, we're not arguing what it is, or rating, I guess. It's whether or not we even think it exists.
Oh.
So, I'm like, we're not doing believable for Managishi, believable for the gray. It's like, did they see something that isn't just a moose? I would say that's like the unbelievable.
Okay.
If we think we think it's a natural animal, then that's unbelievable.
I wish there were more witnesses.
Yeah, but it feels like this actually does probably fit your alien theory. It feels like it was like 2 days. Like it was in and it was out.
Yeah.
Kind of goes against the Managishi a little bit. It's just kind of like, if you were there, you saw it. And but also, what if it's a hoax? I mean, come on. People get restless. There was no internet in the 70s. They were like, hey, let's start a conspiracy. Let's get the town all riled up. I'm going to say I saw this. Then you say this. And then when you're done with your boyfriend, you say you saw this.
Yeah, but who benefits? The kids, because they're in the newspaper.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it's interesting now. I mean, Bill is saying that he doesn't like it and he's embarrassed about it sometimes. But he was willing to take the interview.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm playing devil's advocate with myself because I don't think it's a hoax.
I don't think it's a hoax either. It feels like a stupid prank if it's a prank.
It'd be hard to do now because I feel like our culture is a lot more skeptical. I give it a viable. I think it's definitely viable that they saw something that wasn't natural and it was a very limited time. It was a limited time offer. Batteries not included.
Okay, so I think either if it's an alien or a Managishi, I believe it.
Believable?
I believe it.
All right. Well, that is the story of the Dover Demon. So thank you everybody for listening to our episode on the Dover Demon. I'm very excited to have presented an episode that you haven't heard about. And I feel like that's a little badge of honor for myself.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I think I'm just gonna start locking you like in my basement. So then everything I talk about now is you won't be able to have internet. I apologize. You're gonna be living that 77 lifestyle. Man. I'll give you a sketchbook.
Well, at least I'll have the treadmill.
Let me ask you a question though. And a Christmas tree. I got a treadmill and a Christmas tree on there. Have you ever scared your dog by just existing?
What? Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I got out of bed one time. And he's like, "Oh,
But okay, but you guys were in the same, like, that fits, but it's not quite, because you moved and that's what scared him.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, we're talking about this. I mean, come on, the episode's over. If you don't want to listen to our story about this dog, you don't have to, but I love my dog Annie. So I was up in my bedroom and I was folding something and I hear my dog coming up the stairs and I just kind of stop and I look and I'm waiting for her to come in. I'm like, oh, hi. I was going to say, hey, Annie, what's up? So she like walks in and she walks in the bedroom and she looks up at me and she sees me and she's just like, she like jumps back. Like she legitimately was like, I'm going to walk into the bedroom. I'm going to jump on the bed and nobody's going to be there. I didn't make a noise. I didn't move. Just me being somewhere that she didn't expect me to be made her jump back.
She had plans and you weren't part of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, and let me just say this. I treat my dog like a princess. She's not afraid of me.
Oh, no.
I just want to make sure I say that. It's not like she sees me like, no, please don't. I didn't mean to.
Not again, Daddy.
It was just, I've never seen an animal be surprised by me just existing in a room without doing anything. It was just kind of like that. Like when you're not expecting somebody to be there. It's a very human thing.
Yeah.
Like if you look and you see somebody in the corner, you're like, whoa, I didn't see you there. It was that type of thing. That's bizarre. That's the content you really want. The Dover Demon.
Shot your shot.
So, if you are enjoying the podcast and you feel compelled to, please hit up that Apple Podcast review section and give us a 5-star or a 4 if you're feeling it. We'll take 4s. I don't love it, but I'll take it. And let us know what you think. Hit us up in the DMs. We love responding to people. We love reaching out to people. I hope everybody has a really good Christmas, too, because this is the last episode that'll come out before Christmas. So, I hope everybody has a great Christmas. I hope it's safe. I hope you still get to enjoy it despite the pandemic we're in. I hope everybody still gets to have a good, safe, and as normal as possible Christmas and a good day to chill out.
So thank you again for listening to the show.
As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
Podcast, as bizarre as you are.